Wagwan Popcorn and Onafasamadea. It's your girl Kayla N back with another video for the channel. Welcome, brethren. Alright, in today's video I'm going to be giving y'all a story time of how my life was threatened 3 times. Alright, in Utah. It sounds crazy to even try to put together, but today's story time is going to be very interesting. It's something new that I'm bringing to the channel. So I hope y'all enjoy it. All right, this is supposed to be comical because this was like years ago. But before I hop into this video, if you haven't already, please make sure you go comment, like, and subscribe. Turn on your post notifications so that you could be notified every single time your girl posts. And don't forget to go over to IG and follow me. The handles are right here. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so let me set the tone for y'all. I took this trip in 2016 and the trip was to Utah. But obviously, like, I had to prep for this from before. So in the winter of 2016, like I want to say January, February, my college preparatory counselor at my high school had came to me. She's like, Michaela, like, I have a really good opportunity. I think that you'd be a great candidate for. So I'm like, all right, like, I'm intrigued. Like, let me hear. And basically, it was an opportunity to travel to Utah and to live in nature for 2 weeks. No cell phone, no communication with anyone back home whatsoever. And I'm like, hold up, y'all want me to travel to the middle of nowhere with no communication with my family?
Bruh.
And it was such a difference for me because, like, I'm a city girl. Like, I was born and raised in the city all my life. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that concept was just so foreign to me. I'm like, what are you saying to me right now? But then I was like, you know what? I checked myself. I'm like, this could be a really good opportunity to, like, change my perspective and to just try something new, right? Eventually, you know, my parents was on board with it. They was skeptical, really, really skeptical. My mom was really skeptical for sure. But then it was just, you know, like, she came on board with it. So fast forward now to summer of 2016. I took that flight by myself. And that was my first time actually ever flying by myself, was to Utah. So I landed in Salt Lake City and I spent the night in Salt Lake City, in a Salt Lake City hotel, because we had to drive to Vernal, Utah, and that was a 3-hour drive. And it was literally, it felt like the middle of nowhere. It looked like the middle of nowhere. Like, it looked like the real Wild Wild West. And I'm sitting here like, Michaela, you think this is the middle of nowhere? Wait till you get in that field. We get to Vernal. We spent a day at the site because the next morning, like, we was hitting the river and we was out skis. So it was time to, like, hit the river. So throughout the duration of our trip, our mode of transportation was either rafting or kayaking. And I want to say it was probably like 10 of us, like, as students, or 12 maybe, and we would alternate. So there were 3 rafts, 2 big black ones that carried all of our stuff, and we also had a blueberry raft, which was kind of like the safety raft, medical raft, but we were all split up on to rafts, and then the remaining would take kayaks. But let's hop into the juicy part, right? So I don't remember what day it was, but we hopped into a routine where, like, okay, after you go to sleep, like, you wake up, pack up shop, break down your tent, and you go choose your kayak before it's time for breakfast. So that morning I had woken up late. I was the last one to wake up because I was just drained, right? And I hated kayaking with a passion, y'all. So because I was the last one to choose my kayak. So I'm like, okay. And the kayaks that were there, they were all too small. And I remember telling my counselor, I'm like, I cannot fit into these kayaks, because before we left the mainland, they gave us a rundown on the kayaks, how you're supposed to maneuver in it, what happens if you flip over in your kayak. And that can very much happen, and it happened to me, but it's more dangerous when the kayak isn't your size. And I had to settle for a kayak that wasn't my size because I had woken up late, so I had no choice but to take one of those kayaks, and everything else was, like, packed and loaded onto the boat. So I'm like, all right, clearly I don't have a choice, and I had rafted from the day before, so I just didn't have a choice but to take what was there. So I took the kayak and we get in, And you know, like I'm starting to paddle, but like I didn't feel in control. And like my leader's like, Michaela, like come back, like you're going down river, like come back. I'm like, okay, like you know, I had to like paddle because like I knew what I was doing, but the kayak was just too small. And like if you're not stable in the kayak, you're gonna wobble. You're gonna wobble regardless because you're on top of water, but it's more so of being in control. And I didn't feel like I was in control, y'all. So whatever, you know, we pack up shop. We're traveling downstream for like maybe like 5 miles. No, not even 5 miles. I want to say we got like 2 miles in, and I'm like, bro, like I cannot do this. Like, and I was so fixated on like I cannot do this. So we're traveling downstream, and for the most, sometimes it's calm water with what they would call like glossy water, and then sometimes we get rapids, and rapids are when like it's just a bunch of water just like rippling, you know what I'm saying, like the water's just rough, and you also have to know how to maneuver on top of rough water in a kayak. So here's what happened to little old Michaela. I'm traveling, all of a sudden I flip over in the kayak, like underwater. Like I just flip over because I couldn't keep my balance. Like too much of my body was taken up in the kayak. Like it just wasn't big enough. And they're like, Michaela, do what we practice. And I'm like, I'm trying to do, I pulled my spray skirt. I'm trying to do like the wet exit underwater, but the kayak was too small. And like, mind you, I am underwater. Like I hear them talking to me like above the water, and I'm trying to like push myself out. But I'm like, I was for real struggling. Like I could not get out. So then my instructor, God bless her, she like paddles over to me really hard, like, and she's like trying to flip me over. And if I remember correctly, I think she ended up flipping me over because I never made it out the kayak. And it's just like, now if you're not calm and you're underwater panicking, you're not gonna have any breath to like have to hold you underwater. And I ran out of breath, and I'm just like, yo, like I'm about to just goggle mad water. Like in that moment, like I really didn't know what was gonna happen. And I knew like they couldn't let nothing happen because they were liable for us, but it's like it just felt like a failure. And I was so just mad because I told y'all in the morning, I told y'all these kayaks are too small for me, and they was just like, you should have woke up early enough to choose your kayak. I remember like once my instructor flipped me back over, she's like, Michaela, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Like, just like, I'm going to the land, bro. Like, I was like, I'm over this. And then as soon as I got to the land, man, I got out the kayak, I threw the paddle in the water. Like I was so heated, y'all. I was just like, I'm done kayaking for the rest of the trip. I'm like, I'm done. And they're like, Michaela, I'm like, do you hear me? Like I am done. Finito, like finished. So they was like, okay. And then I just became like a permanent rafter for the rest of the trip because like it was a really scary experience, y'all. Like I was underwater for more than 10 seconds. And a lot of people would say that like, you can't hold your breath for 10 seconds. But it's like, I wasn't calmly holding my breath for 10 seconds. I was literally like trying to hold my breath, but I'm also panicking because I can't get out the kayak. Like a wet exit from a kayak should take you no more than 5 seconds when you have the correct kayak that you're in, you know? So in that moment, like I just panicked because it's like I knew what I was doing, but it became harder to do because the kayak was just too small for me. And that was that. Moving on to the second experience I had was when we stopped for water, for drinking water. So this was a different day. This didn't happen on the same day. Mind you, I'm out there for 2 weeks. So like all of this happened just at sporadic moments in the trip. So we're hiking downstream and like, all right, like we're running out of drinking water. We need to stop and go find a stream of water so that we can put into the bins. So we finally get to a place, right? We get out the kayaks and we had to do a little bit of like hiking. And at that time I had my water shoes on. I'm like, bro, I'm not taking these off. Like they're staying on my feet. Which was nothing, there was nothing wrong with that. But it's like, you got to be careful because we're hiking and, you know, like there's just a lot that can happen. So we hiked for about, I want to say we hiked for like a good 10-15 minutes before we actually found a stream of water. So the way it works was like, once we found the stream of water, and it was very narrow, like we were hiking up cliffs, like mountains. So it's like, it was pretty narrow. We had to follow one behind the other. Sometimes we could be beside each other, sometimes we couldn't. Like it was real life, like you gotta watch what you're doing. So we're hiking and we finally get to the stream of water. So we have a tarp, like a big tarp that we use, put it under the water so that the water falls down the middle, and then you just put it into the bucket, right? Obviously, like, we sterilize the water before we drink it, all of that. So we had a whole system going. There's the people holding the tarps in a long V so that the water would go into the bucket. And then once the bin was full, we had people that would place the bucket, you know, to the other person. And then the next person would take it to the next person and then load it, you know, onto the boat. So we were on the last bucket, y'all. Okay, the last bucket of water. And I'm carrying it. It was a really big bucket. And I slipped. Mind you, the stream of, like, we took the tarp off and the water is just falling. So, like, it's wet, all the above. And I somehow slipped on the pebbles, like the little rocks. And I was just going. Like, I was just slipping. And for a sec, I'm like, okay, like, Michaela, stop. Like, stop your body. But then I'm realizing it's the jug of water that's weighing me down. So I had to let go of the jug. And one of my good friends at the time, I think it was either Peter or Toby, like, one of them grabbed me by the back of my shirt and, like, literally stopped me. Like, if they didn't grab me by the back of my shirt, like, I would have went over that cliff. Like, it was so scary, y'all. They're like, Michaela, like, you know, and, like, everyone's, like, clapping for me because it's like, you know, like, I was really, like, taking one for the team. But that was also, like, it was just thrilling. Like, that sounds crazy to say, but, like, it was a little bit of a thrill. But it was also really scary because, like, I could have went over that cliff, and we were on some really, like, I told y'all, we were hiking up mountains for like 10-15 minutes. So just imagine how high up we are. And, like, you know, the cliffs are like different sizes, but it doesn't matter. Like, I could have very much gotten hurt in that situation. But, like, you know, eyes are watching and aware at all times, and, like, somebody just grabbed me by the back of my shirt and I was literally, like, hanging. Oh my gosh, that one was just different. Like, that one was crazy. The jug wasn't lost. The jug didn't go over the cliff. It just kept rolling to the bottom. And, you know, we didn't lose a jug of drinking water, which was good. All right, so moving on to the third life-threatening experience I had in Utah. So this was the last day of the trip. I will never forget this one. This one was the last day of the trip. And we had to wake up at 5 in the morning because we had to go like 15 miles down the river to get back to base in Vernal, Utah, where we had originally started. So it, like, normally when we wake up, the sun is out, it's peeking through, but it was still dark when we woke up. Like, that's how early it was in Utah. I had my headlamp on. Like, that's literally how dark it was. You couldn't see nothing. And it was like, there was a fire going, but that was like down there, and, like, I was at my tent. The other two girls I was with, they were still sleeping. I'm like, nah, I'm getting up. Like, I ain't about to be late. I ain't having nothing happen to me. So I pack up all my stuff, and I had went back to the tent for a bag. So, like, you know, like, I'm packing and, like, I hear, like, a little, like, in the bushes. I look up with my headlamp. I don't see nothing. So I go back to packing. So, like, I'm packing, and then, like, I hear more. Like, it gets louder. It's like, and I look up, y'all. I see two green eyes looking at me. Like, I can't see anything but the green eyes. Like, it's looking at me, and then it just slowly goes away, like, back into the bushes. After I seen those two eyes, like, I didn't even think twice. Like, I grabbed my bag. I was like, oh heck no, and I go running down the hill. When we get down there, one of the kids I was with, they was like, guys, did you see that fox? I'm like, yeah, I saw the fox, all right. We made eye contact, and we were close in contact. A fox? Like, if y'all don't know how dangerous a fox is, like, go Google it and then come back here. The fact that, like, it, like, even talking about it now, like, it gives my body a little bit of the shivers to just know how close I was to a fox. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I just could not believe it. All right, y'all. So I have one last story, and this one is, like, low-key my favorite. Well, they're all my favorite stories to tell now, But this one, like, I was really proud of myself. So we were traveling downstream, like night was starting to catch us, like it was getting a little dark, but we were almost at our new campsite because every single day we'd travel, we'd have a new campsite to sleep at. So we're in the middle of a rapid, right? And as I've told y'all, like the rapid, like the water's a little rough and you just got to know how to maneuver when you're on it. So this day in particular, I was on the raft. It was me, Fish, my instructor. She's super cool, like one of the dopest people I've honestly met. And my guy Ben, shout out to Ben Strine, yo, if you're watching this video, what's up, my guy? Hearts to you. But it was the three of us on that raft, and I was the one steering. So you know, like I'm paddling and you like kind of take your time and you kind of let the raft easily ride over the rapids in the water. So, but I let it rock too much, you feel me? So it was to the point where like I was drifting towards the wall, like I wasn't steering. And then Fish, my instructor, she was just mad calm about it. She's like, Michaela, oh, we're headed towards the wall. And she was like, you know what happens if we're gonna hit the wall? I'm like, what? She was like, we're gonna bounce out of this and we're gonna have to swim. And I was like, oh heck no. And like, because the rapids were so like, they're just going and going and going, Ben's sitting there like, Michaela, like, I'm not trying to swim. So yo, I had to like use every freaking muscle I had in me. Like, I think I reversed because we were faced this way, but the raft was going this way. So I had to go in a backwards direction. I'm like, like I'm trying to get away from the wall. Like I had to use every single core strength I had in me to get, I'm like, yo, I'm not trying to bounce out of here. And mind you, the raft that we're on, I don't remember it. No, we had stuff. I think we were carrying everyone's like bags, like backpack, like things to put their clothes in. And I'm like, yo, like I can't imagine if this raft flips over. I can't imagine if it goes into the water. Like I just can't imagine. Like, so I had to use every little bit of core strength I had in me to get away from that wall. And when I finally got away from it, like Ben's like, okay, Michaela, like, yeah. Fish is like, yeah, Michaela. I'm like, yeah, like I just saved y'all lives in my life. Like that was one of the best stories. Like that's one of the best memories I actually have. Like it was so grateful. And then when we did our little shout outs after dinner, like they mentioned that and everyone's like, okay, like that's what's up. And like Ben, I remember Ben saying like, I've never seen Michaela like pull that type of strength out of her from before. And I'm like, my guy. Oh man, I lied, guys. I actually have one more story. This one is actually like pretty mind-blowing to even try to visualize, but it's short. So this next one, we were kayaking. Once again, y'all know I hate the kayaks. Like the kayaks is just a hard no for me, you feel me? So we're kayaking and I want to say we were going through a rapid. I really don't remember. I don't remember if it was Glossy Water or if it was a rapid that we were going through. But all I know is that like I was drifting in the kayak towards a hole in the water. So when there's a hole in the water, that means like there's a rock underneath, right? But then there's just water like all on top of it, just like going crazy. So at the time, I wasn't really paying attention and I was going close to the hole. So my instructor, Rory, rest in peace, Rory, he's like, Michaela, swim away from the hole. And I'm like, what? They're like, jump out the kayak. So I'm looking and like I was too close to the hole to be trying to like paddle away at that point. Like, girl, pull the spray skirt and swim. And that's exactly what I did. So as soon as like the tip of the kayak hit the hole, I just pulled the spray skirt and like it just lifted me. Like it lifted me and like I just flipped over into the water. And at that point, like I just had to swim. Like I'm swimming and like I swim to shore. And like I'm looking back and my kayak is in the hole, like flipping. My kayak, and y'all know kayaks are huge. My kayak is like flipping in the air. Like just imagine that. And imagine if I was still in that, if I did not jump out and swim. Utah was an adventure. Like, and I wasn't even mad. Like in the moment, like it was just a laughable moment. Like everyone was laughing because like stuff like that happens. Like, you know what I'm saying? But you just got to know what to do in those situations. But yeah, so that pretty much concludes my life-threatening experiences I had in Utah, but like honestly, y'all, my word still stands from 2016. Like if I could do that all over again, like I really would. It's just one of those like once in a lifetime experiences that like you get to really receive as a kid, right, as a teenager. But like I had learned so much about myself. I learned so much about a different side of a world that I knew existed, but I've never really seen. Like the canyon walls, like I remember we crossed over into like Colorado, I think, and we went to the gates of Lador, and I'm like, it's just a breathtaking experience to really like take in, like, you know. So I'm super grateful for that experience. Like it really opened up my mind. It even changed, it didn't change my taste, it expanded my taste into music. Like I like country. Like 2016 was when I really started like tapping into country music, and like it's just dope to me. I realized that like I really found my peace in nature. Like it was just such a dope experience. Actually, so I have a camera, an underwater camera that I used to take pictures while I was out there, and I never developed them. And I still have that camera just sitting like in like a little storage space in my room. So I think I'm gonna do another like video, like maybe like a part 2 of just looking at those pictures from 2016 that I've never developed. And I'm gonna go down memory lane with y'all because that was really a life-changing experience for me. And like I really encourage y'all to step outside your box. I'm not saying put yourself in life-threatening situations. I don't encourage that. I'm not saying that. But I do encourage taking risks, trying new things, step outside of your comfort zone. And you know, there are new things that you can learn. I know like when I'm in my circle, or even if I'm at work, I remember I mentioned Utah recently. Everyone's like, Michaela, Utah? I'm like, nah. Hear me out before y'all start coming for my neck, because like I said, it's an experience that you just have to see for yourself. Like it taps you into another side of a world that you don't know exists. Like who would have thought I was in Utah in an outdoor kitchen making fried Oreos for everyone? And yes, I did. I made fried Oreos and lasagna in the outdoors. Like it's just a dope experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, I'm gonna see if I can develop those photos and go down memory lane and share those photos. And I'm interested to see what them photos look like, because like the Michaela that y'all see now is not the Michaela that was back in 2016. But I really hope y'all enjoyed this story time. I hope you got a little kick, a little laughter out of it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to go comment, like, and subscribe. Turn on your post notifications so that you could be notified every single time I post. Go follow your girl on IG. My handles are right here, all right? I love y'all so much. And I will catch y'all in my next video. As always, peace.